Welcome to the Exit Strategy, your no bullshit guide to divorce with the experienced attorneys from New Direction Family Law. Unfiltered discussions to help you move from victim to victorious and from bitter to better.
Hi, everyone. It's Elizabeth Stevenson with New Direction Family Law.
And Sarah Hink, her law partner and partner in crime and podcast partner. Yep. And of course, we have Cam Heinzen, our, what is the title? The Director of Public Relations and Marketing and all the things that keep us running.
Yeah, I think technically it's Marketing and Business Development Manager, but that's kind of
all the things that keep us
running. Kind of a mouthful, but yes. So I was just telling Elizabeth and Sarah, I think we're going to start by talking about this millennial marriage epidemic of default parent divorces.
Right.
So you both have, are seeing a lot of that feedback from your clients.
What is that? Can you tell everybody what that means?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the default parent in a relationship or in a couple is typically the person that has taken the point on kid scheduling and household items and anticipating everybody's needs. When does this need to happen? Preventative maintenance for the house. They know when the library books are due, right? Like the person that becomes the sort of go-to, and they have coined this term default parent, although I don't have children, but in my relationship, we work to make sure that there isn't a default person.
Right.
But that's kind of the coined term is default parent. And so we're seeing what a lot of the articles and things that I've been reading and, feedback that you've gotten from your clients is resulting in this epidemic of divorce from people who didn't necessarily have a big event. There was no affair. There was no illegitimate children popping up. There was no incident. It's just people just are tired.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
One person's overloaded, the other person's not carrying any load at all, or at least it feels that way.
Yeah.
I know with, our daycare, I'm always the main contact, but no one asked me to be the main contact. They just assume a lot of times the mom's the main contact.
Yeah.
Even with our vet, I'm like, come on, Jamie takes care of the dogs usually all the time. I'm like, he's on top of the dogs. But I think there's an assumption just historically that moms are the default parent for communication for school, education.
Correct.
Even medical purposes.
Medical purposes, especially, I think, that you just sort of take that role on. And this is what I remember about being married is that you would ask the other partner to do something and they would do it badly. And my personality is I can do it so much quicker. Just let me do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's built. I think that was a strategy, I think, a little bit too, because if they're not going to do it, it's got to be done. So it just falls to that person.
Well, and I think we see it happen to women a lot, especially with children, because it starts with feeding. That if you're nursing, you are on top of the child's schedule. You are on top of how much they're eating. And I mean, it starts there and it just kind of steamrolls from there.
Right. But you can help in other ways. While I'm feeding, you can make me a cup of tea or bring me something to eat, and take care of me a little bit. And then when I'm not breastfeeding anymore, then we can start sharing this load, so.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely am lucky that I know my partner does his share, if not more so. But I knew I needed that before I had a child or anything. I was like, I need a parent that's going to be that way. Because otherwise it wouldn't work. Because I don't have that personality I would be the same way. I'll just do everything. And then if you're just doing everything and the other person's not, resentment grows. And then eventually you're like, well, I might as well just do it on my own. There's so many clients I have who are like, by having a divorce and separating, I feel like I'm actually lessening my burden.
Right.
They look at their spouse as a child that they are also caring for, but they shouldn't have to be caring for.
Washing their clothes, making their meals, all of that.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's I actually have, less on top, less responsibilities by losing this other person that's supposed to help me. I think we see it a lot with the women, but I've also had male clients who feel the same way. For whatever situation, they are the ones that are the default parents. So it's not 100% always the women.
Yeah, but talked to a client today, and he's a stay-at-home dad, and sort of the same thing. But they do say the best predictor for getting a divorce is resentment.
Yeah,
and it's like they still love the person, but you don't. What's in it for me to stay in this is the question.
Yeah, And resentment's just anger.
I mean, and, on the other side of things, like you tell me what you need, tell me what, but then it becomes on the default person or parent to manage that. Like now I have to delegate to you instead of you just being able to understand enough about the processes inside of our home and like our flow to be able to just handle something without me having to assign it to you. It's not about the task, it's about the anticipation and the planning and all of that.
Yeah.
Right. So you're just adding one more person to the kid chore chart.
Right.
Basically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And it might have worked different, 20, 30 years ago when a lot of the women did not work outside the home. They were the managers of the household. But now that women are out in the workforce, they're the manager of the household and working outside the home. So wearing all the hats, and the men haven't really gravitated to sharing the responsibility of managing the household. And that's kind of where this breaking point is. A lot for my clients, a lot of the women is that, they have full-time jobs. They're making a lot of times more money than their spouses. So they're the breadwinner. They're the ones that are catering to the children, getting them where they need to go, taking on top of their schedule, paying the bills, managing everything, and then they just look over their bum husband, just like
Who walks
drinking
past
beer,
the laundry basket one more time.
yeah, like doing nothing, and just kind of like going down some like internet, rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, and they're like, "What am I doing here? Like, this is insane. How did I get here? I don't want to be this guy anymore."
Well, I think you see. Well, not, we're not going to get political.
Generalize, but
right. I mean, not to be political, but I think there is a movement toward more of a traditional household, and and so I love TikTok. I watch it all the time. So it's called Trad Wives, and Trad Wife side of TikTok. But the question becomes, and there's one I really resonated with last night, and she showed how her blue collar husband, who owned his own business, you never know when they're coming home. So she did all that. She wanted a nice quiet when he came home. So she got the kids done, put him to bed, made his dinner, put water in his Stanley, put it on his desk, lit a candle, laid out his clothes. And I'm thinking, I didn't have a problem with that necessarily. Yeah. Is that wrong of me?
No,
she was a stay-at-home mom, and I know that's a job.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't think it was. That to me is different than what we're talking about, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a different story if the guy was like, I need you to light a candle, fill my Stanley. But she was choosing to do it.
But I was thinking, man, if I want a wife that does that, or a husband that does that.
I mean, it's just all about respecting each other and listening to each other's, desires. I think when I get overwhelmed with, responsibility, sometimes I think about going back to trad wife life, right?
Right.
Oh, just to stay home and knit well, I don't knit, but I would probably hate knitting. But just garden. I like to garden. If I stayed home and garden, fed children, then I think it's grass is always greener too. If you think about the whole trad wife first.
Yeah,
out of house. It's not the same. It's choices, and everyone's going to have their own
right. No, I agree
hardships.
with that. Yeah.
But when women take on all the roles, or anyone takes on all the roles, that's when it's an overload that definitely leads to resentment. And there's just so many people I talk to in my cases that are just I'm just exhausted, and I'm just don't want to be in a relationship with this person. I don't feel like I've been in a relationship with this person.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem in Sarah and I's world with that in litigation, is that judges will say, I know you've done it all, but let's give Dad a chance to do that. And let's do it on a 50-50 basis, because a lot of clients who come in who have been the primary parent expect to be the primary parent. And it sometimes it works that way, but a lot of times it does not work that way.
Yeah, it's they want to give them, and I tell my clients, I'm well, unfortunately, court wants to give them enough rope to hang themselves.
Right, exactly.
And see if they can, pull their bootstraps up to be a father, a mother, whatever, and parent, co-parent, and take that responsibility. But we also see cases where they fail, and you do the 50-50, because that's what the judge says you're going to do. And dad still somehow gets out of taking the kid to doctor's appointments.
Right, and soccer, and showing up at school.
Still doesn't pull their weight. And that's really frustrating too, because here you are, you separated, and you're a lot of people, they want a break. They're I love my kids, but I need a break.
Right.
I need to not have all this responsibility, but it still turns out a little bit where they're managing those aspects of the kid's life.
Still, yes.
Hey guys, it's Cam with New Direction Family Law. Let's face it, divorce affects a lot of people, myself included. My parents were divorced. I've been there. There's no easy way around it. It just sucks. But determining the finances of one household splitting into two can be one of the most stressful issues of divorce. Will alimony or child support have to be paid? Who gets the house and the cars? Who has to pay all the credit card debt or any other debt? Do I get to keep all of my retirement? These are all important questions that you need answered going into a divorce. And it's so important that you're represented by an experienced family law attorney that can answer these questions for you and help you develop a plan specifically for you and your situation to move forward. New Direction Family Law has over 80 years of experience protecting the rights of our clients when going through a divorce. We aggressively advocate, we support and educate our clients to achieve the best possible outcomes. So give us a call today to schedule an initial consultation at 919-719-3470. You can click the link in the episode description, or you can reach out to us on our website at newdirectionfamilylaw.com.
Well, and some of the reading that I was doing and preparing for today too, it was interesting insight on the impact that it has on the kids, because the kids get used to going to the one person for everything that they need, because and so they have become emotionally like they don't have the same relationship with the other parent. They, and it becomes very difficult for the other parent to parent them because the relationship isn't there. And then the other parent's getting frustrated and they're kind of emotionally divested in what's going on with the kids. Like,
right, and they've already had a big change already because they're separated, and now having to deal with let's say dad misses an appointment. That's stressful, and so who do I go to? What do I do? So it's not good for the kids either, I don't think.
And sometimes there is the mother bear controlling type parent who
true.
fails to relinquish any of this control, and I see a lot of those too. And there's just obviously we see a lot of dynamics.
We do.
And unfortunately the kids get caught in a lot of the different dynamics, whatever way you want to put it. But I think with everyone who works out of the household, managing a household on top of that is really difficult. And I don't think our society right now is really caught up to where we are with everyone working as hard as they're working and having children and families and everything. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, but we haven't quite adjusted.
Yeah. And especially if you're working from home and working from home, looking after kids, even if they're in school age, at some point they're coming home, you still got to take care of them.
Yeah.
It's still hard.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they were talking historically, right, as you're looking at it, as America came up, the family always worked together. Like the home was the business. It was farming. It was, and the whole family was there working together. And not really until like the Industrial Revolution came around was the man leaving. Right? He was always there doing the, manual work of upkeeping the home. Right. And so that's really like, if you look at history as a whole, that one little period of the man being outside the home and the woman not has been pretty short.
Yeah.
And so, we adapted to that lifestyle so quickly, it seems like, as a society, and we just have, like, to your point, have not gotten there yet on this new way of life.
Both people are leaving the home, so it's one. Right.
Makes me think of when I was a little girl, my mom would always tell me, never rely on a man, Sarah, never rely on a man. For whatever reason, she was telling me this constantly, doesn't matter. But, I didn't get married until later in life, didn't have a child until later in life. And up until those things happened, I'm very self-sufficient. Like, I still don't need a man. So like what point there's a generation like ours who's like, I don't need a spouse. So you really actually want to be with your spouse to continue being with them.
Yeah. Correct.
Which I think is different from generations ago where you looked at it more as a family unit as like, well, I need them for financial reasons and other reasons besides or religious reasons than just wanting to be with them.
Yeah.
Right. And so you just stay together.
You just get to be more selective now.
Yes.
Like
or not, or just don't get married.
Yeah. I mean, people are getting married less or having children less.
That's right.
And there's a lot of single men out there crying on the dating apps. So why don't these women want to date me? And it's like, well, you have to figure that on your own.
Sometimes you want to choose the bear.
Choose the bear. Like, I don't need a man.
So I don't think there's the only thing you can do is ask, get into therapy and see if you can work it through. And if, people are either going to change or they're not.
Yeah, and maybe they just don't want to be married anymore.
Yeah, and so you got to, when people come to me with that, it's like, well, let's get a plan in place. Y'all get to therapy in 3 months if he's not doing anything, and in your mind, I want to be out by the end of the year. Okay, then what do we need to do to make that happen, kind of thing. So just because you feel that way, that I want to get out of this and I'm done, make sure that you're done. You know, if there's no reason that you feel unsafe to stay there, give it a go and give it a try. And then if it doesn't work, then you've done all you can do.
Yeah.
You know, at that point.
There was a lot of, like conversation around how do we fix this, right? Like if you feel like you're the default parent, what do you need to do in order to get the other person, on your same level so that they understand? And, typical sort of advice like communication and therapy and things like that. But they were talking about where it becomes really difficult is to truly let somebody come in and share the workload with you, the mental workload, that they have to feel the consequences of what happens when they drop a ball.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for moms, that's really hard, or for dads, that's really hard, because it's typically a kid thing, right?
Yeah.
That you're dropping the ball on.
Right.
And so and it just becomes the cycle again of, okay, now I'm back to having to be in control of this. And I read a really interesting one-liner. It's like, successful women will let consequences land. And that's like so hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for someone
but
that
so it's like you say, you give them some rope to hang themselves, and then they do. Okay, well, we
But
tried.
then what? Do you say, well, look, I was going to say motherfucker, but like, look what you did. Like,
Yeah.
then where does it go? Like, are you going to have a constructive conversation about you dropped the ball? How are we going to fix this?
Or no,
look, you dropped the ball, loser. Like, I knew it. Like,
well, I mean, it depends on the personality, I guess. And
Yeah.
then if you're working and you got money to take care, you may need a little time to get some money stashed away and that sort of thing. So
yeah.
you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But I don't think I don't see it changing anytime soon.
No, definitely not with the current climate. I don't see this. I know men happen to them too, but it really is a gender division, I feel like.
Right.
Just from historically the women being the go-to for all the kids stuff.
Right. And the other thing I always say to people, people don't keep, if you keep doing something for somebody, why in the world are they going to change anything?
They're not.
They're not.
Especially if their mom did it for them.
So tell them to stop washing his clothes, stop making his meals, stop going to the grocery store for him. Like you say, he's got to have some consequences or nothing's going to change.
Right.
So,
Ain't that some shit?
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review. You can visit us online at newdirectionfamilylaw.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at the Exit Strategy _podcast, or email us at exitstrategy@newdirectionfamilylaw.com. We'll be back next week with more no bullshit content about life, divorce, parenting, relationships, and everything in between.